All right, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's
All right,
go.
here we
Woo.
go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. In 2022, we're going to be really focused on interviewing people that have participated in an event called Quest. I'm excited today to have Mondoe Davis with us. He's an alumni. He's a friend of the ministry. We are blessed to have him serve on the board of Fellowship of the Sword as well. Today, I've asked him to come and speak on a book that he wrote. And before we get started, Mondo, okay, so I have read this bio of you like 10 times already this morning, and it's like a halftime coach, like getting excited. So here we go. So if you need some encouragement, here we go, because this really is the energy and the passion that is behind Mondo. So here we go. Mondo is a father and husband first. Let's just stop there. I so appreciate you because I know that's your heart. I appreciate that hearing your bio on your website called Living with Purpose. Once again, livingwithpurpose.com. He says, being extremely proud of leading his 10 children and college crush wife, Lisa. And your wife is an amazing lady. So honored to know her as well. He's a speaker, author, pastor, and a rare voice helping groups, companies, and organizations worldwide, serving in over 40 countries with strategies, energy, and well-communicated approach to winning, coming from a professional sports background in the NFL and dominating the healthcare system and nonprofit sector. He is no stranger to high-level empowerment and producing top leaders. Most rave about his warmth, humor, and transformational approach to calling out the leader within. Mondo is passionate about helping people discover their purpose and fulfill their God-given destiny. Man, I feel
Woo.
like I need to have sound
Man.
effects here, like with the crowd going crazy. Who is this guy?
Oh my gosh. Wow,
With all
Elton. I was wondering who you were talking about, man. I'm like, wow, who is this?
That's awesome. Well, with all of that being said, it's true. It is an honor to know you personally as a friend. You're just a great person. I want to read this quote that at the end of it, which I really, in my conversations with you, is telling, and that is, you have a quote by Stephen Dooley says here. Did I say that right, Stephen Dooley?
Yes,
Yeah. A man who wants something will find a way. A man who doesn't will find an excuse.
that's right.
That that's powerful.
That's
Where did you
it
get
right
that? Where did
there.
that come from?
I'm a big time follower of leaders who have touched the world, and I love quotes because I feel like it's a way to capture the heart of a
Yeah.
deep thought and epiphany, a
Mm.
lifetime of experience in one phrase.
Yeah.
And I'm all about being able to capture efficiency and expediting processes and strategy to be more effective and efficient with the short life that we have here on the earth. So when I saw that, I thought to myself, wow, I want to be the guy that finds a way. Instead of saying I can't, I want to be the guy that says I can, or
Yeah.
how can I?
Yeah. That's so good. You know, when I read that quote, sometimes quotes you can wiggle out of, right? Like you
That's
can get
right.
away from. You can't
Hmm.
get away from that one, right? I
You
just was
can't.
like,
It pins you
it's
in the
like,
corner.
yeah, it's just
That's right.
amazing. It's a
Yes.
at the core the principle of as a man sows, right? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? It's like,
That's
here you
right.
go. It's really
That's right.
powerful. All right. Well,
Yes.
I really want to get into this book that you wrote. You sent it to me 3 or 4 months ago. I
Yes.
downloaded immediately on Kindle, uh, and the book is called "The V.I.S.O.R Cycle of Success." I've got some
Yes.
quotes from that book. I'm going to be quiet. I just want you to share about it. And I'm excited about what God's going to do through you today. For those of you that are listening, those of you that are watching, sit back, get your notebook out, get a coffee, your favorite drink. There's some life-changing things that I believe that God has shown Mondo that will help you in every area of your life. From your book, it starts with this quote: achieve reaching your personal, professional, and organizational goals like the world's top leaders, athletes, and organizations. That got me in right there. I'm like, I'm all in.
Come on.
Then you say, I'm excited to introduce you to this concept that came from divine inspiration from over 25 years of studying some of the world's most successful leaders, athletes, and organizations. There were a couple things that really jumped out at me. The first one was the divine inspiration. Tell me, what motivated you to write this book?
Absolutely. First off, Elton, before I jump into your question, I want to say thank you so much for having me. I am
Sure.
so honored to be here. I love the organization, the founders, Richard and Paige Henderson, are dear friends of mine. I consider them family. We're like this. Absolutely love them and love you and all of the work that you guys are doing. Quest is it's an organization, it's an experience that truly transformed my life and helped me to grow spiritually. So I am forever grateful to you, to the organization, and the work that you guys are doing to transform lives and change legacies around the world. So thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you. It's going to be a
Absolutely.
great time.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. So diving into the book, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm asking God, what am I going to do to be more effective in reaching the goals that you put in my heart, the dreams you put in my heart, the things that you've
Yes.
asked me to do with my life? As you read earlier in my bio, my wife and I have been together now 20 years. We've been married almost 17. We have 10 amazing children. So there's never a dull moment. You can only imagine how much fun it is. We call it organized chaos in our
Come on.
house. So when you have limited time, like all of us do, right? And you're trying to figure out how to be effective and efficient in what God's called you to do with your life, knowing that life is short. You know, I have, I have a beautiful mother-in-law that was in her 50s that just passed away last year from cancer
Mm. Yeah.
prematurely.
Mm.
My sister-in-law right now is 38 years old. She's fighting stage 4 cancer, and she's
Mm.
got children that are from 1 years old all the way up to 13, 5 kids. It's like when you think about the short time that we have here on the earth, we don't have time to waste not focusing in on doing what God's called us to do. And whether that's 120 years or less, I want to be effective in doing what God's called me to do with my life, and I want my life to count. And when I'm sitting at my desk this year, getting prepared for the upcoming year, thinking about goals and things like that, I'm like, man, Lord, how can I be more effective in fulfilling the things that you've asked me to do with my life? And Elton, I promise, it was like an open vision happened where I was standing on this mountaintop and I'm looking across the plain at another mountaintop, and it's a summit. And I feel like the Lord's like, that's where I'm taking you. And I'm thinking to myself,
Mm.
okay, awesome. But I have this sun just beaming into my eyes. You know how it is when the sun's kind of hitting you in the eye and you can't see, you're squinting and you're like, I can't see the light so bright. It was one of
Yeah.
those moments, but I had this visor on and I pulled the visor down just enough to block the sun. And I was able to see very clearly. It was like my eyes pixelated, dilated, and I can clearly see exactly where I needed to go. And then I saw this acronym for the 5 letters visor. The word visor popped up like a movie, almost as if you're watching a movie script. And
Mm.
then it just pops up, and the V stands out and it goes vision, just like this. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, you got to be able to clearly see, right? And we know that that word vision in Hebrew is the word kazon, which means
Mm.
to see the very end from the beginning.
Yeah.
There's another word, aptasia, and it means to really have a clear understanding of sight around what you're looking at. That's the Greek word, aptasia. And then
Mm.
there's
That's
another
good.
Greek word, hooray, and it's clarity of sight. It's
Mm.
clarity of sight. And Helen Keller said that the only thing worse than being blind is having sight with no vision.
Mm. Wow, that's good.
So according to the Greek and the Hebrew, it's the ability to have clear vision and see something that other people cannot see. So as
Okay.
I'm standing there, go ahead. Yeah, you want to jump in there, also you want to keep going?
No, no, it's good. No, I love it.
Okay.
Keep going.
So now I see the vision, and I'm seeing this other mountain, and I'm able to see things there that no one else can see. And then the eye comes up, and it's ideation, and I see that scroll across, and then it's like God's like, hey, a lot of times we want to get an idea, we get a vision for something, but we want to go after it with our ideas. But God's like, I don't want you to have good ideas. I want you to have God ideas.
Mm. Let me
So
stop
I'm
you
gonna,
right there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How do I get to that place? I mean, like if you're a doer, you can
Yep.
be creative without God, and I'm saying that in a good way. Just like so many ideas.
Yes.
How do I posture myself? How do you do that to get God's ideas?
So we submit the vision to the one who gave the vision.
Mm. That's
And
good.
when we submit the vision to the one who gave the vision, he gives us the provision.
Okay.
And
Amen.
that comes in the form of ideas, it comes in the form of resources, it comes in the form of people and help and everything else we need.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. We are created in God's image, so therefore we can create. But it's
Hmm.
one thing to create and have a good idea that will do okay versus submitting it to God and asking Him to breathe on it. And it's God's idea that will accelerate and surpass anything we could have ever dreamed of.
Yeah, that's so good. One of the quotes that you have in your book, I just want to read it here. Chinese proverb: "When the winds of change blow, some people build walls, others build windmills."
That's
How's this
right.
played out in your own personal life? That's a great quote.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to this, the vision and the ideation, last year was one of the hardest years that we've had in my life. We
I'm
had my
sorry.
grandmother come and stay with us. She suffered from 3 strokes, almost died, and she's been living with us now for 8 years, going on 9 years. And
Wow.
we've been caring for her. She is 86 years old, and
Mm.
she almost passed away, but she's been doing great. But again, that's another responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And you can look at that and say, all right, am I going to make lemons, take these lemons and be sad about this, or am I going to make lemonade? Am I going to
Yeah.
see the glass as half empty, or am I going to see the glass as half full? And
Hmm.
I believe that, coming out of that, then we had Lisa's mother call us right at the beginning of the year and say, look, I just found out that I have 2 weeks to live. And she says, I don't want to die. And I
Mm.
just found out that this cancer is a lot more aggressive than I thought it was going to be, non-small cell lung cancer. And me and my wife, I looked at her and I said, hey, babe, if she were to pass away in the next 2 weeks and you're not there with her, would you regret it? She said, absolutely. And I said, well, you know what we need to do? So we got in the car, we put all 10 of our kids and grandmom in the car and drove 24 hours of drive time, which took us 2.5, almost 3 days to get to Delaware to be there with her. And then she said, I want to come back and stay with you guys. Little did we
Wow.
know this house would turn into a hospital
Yeah.
and a church.
Yeah.
So we now have prayer happening 24/7. We have palliative care, hospice care, people in and out. And little did we know we would be in a position where we would now be caring for Lisa's mother in our home. And we had to make a decision to say, are we going to be sour about this, or are we going to see the positive in the time that we get to spend with your mother? So grandmom
Yeah.
comes. Now we're caring for mom Lisa. And then next thing you know, some things changed with some plans that we had professionally. And that was like the rug being pulled out from underneath of us. And we're trying to deal with that
Mm.
as well. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, my wife's my wife's brother and his wife, the one I mentioned earlier, that's 38 with cancer, come to live with us.
Mm.
And they have 5 children, and they're with us now in the house. And
Oh my
we have 20
goodness.
we have 20 people in our home. And the amazing thing is that
Mm.
I'm in a room right now that's an office, but what many people don't know is this is Richard and Paige's old house that we
That's
bought.
right. That's right.
And that was a whole God story in and of itself, because
Yes.
I prayed and said, Lord, I want to do a handshake deal. I don't want to have a realtor involved. I want someone that's looking for the appraisal value of the home, because the housing market was crazy. And Richard and Paige put a fleece out. The Lord speaks to them and confirms that you're supposed to sell the house to Mondoe and Lisa. Me and Lisa pray a very specific prayer. And then next thing you know, we have a conversation and we're like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
And miraculously, God does it. And within 21 days, we're moving in as they're moving out. And
Yeah.
little did we know, they had written scripture on the walls here on the foundation.
Mm.
And there's been hundreds, if not thousands, of people through this home having an
So
encounter
true.
with God. And now we step into this atmosphere that's been prepared. And like you talked about with the proverb, it's turned into a windmill and not a
Wow.
wall. And it's a
No,
place that's generating the power of God.
that's so awesome. I mean, even starting with the quote about like you can either do something about it, or you can make excuses, you know?
Yes.
And
Yes.
well, let's just be honest. Those moments when you start making excuses, or you're like, you just like, I'm not going to make a win. I'm going to be frustrated. I'm going to make an excuse. For you personally, when you've been in that situation, and you know what, I made an excuse. I'm putting my head in the sand. How do you get out of that? Because a lot of people are in that place, especially after the last 2 or 3 years. They're just the mental things that are happening. A lot of people are like, I'm just
Yeah.
putting my head in the sand. I'm going to forget about it. How do you personally, even if you make that mistake, how do you get out of that?
Yeah, such a great point, Elton, because I've been there. I've been in that spot where I found myself stuck and I'm asking, like, man, how did I get here? Next thing you know, my wife is like, babe, come on, you're not yourself. Like, what are you
Mm,
doing? And there's two key things here that I think will help any person that's watching or listening right now. And you're thinking, man, I'm kind of stuck. How do I get out? The first
mhm.
is, instead of saying I can't and looking at the negativity around you and acquiescing to everything that society has told you, instead of saying I can't, I want you to ask yourself one question. How can I?
Okay. How can I? Good.
How can I? And what it does is neurologically, it literally shifts your brain and opens up the possibilities for your brain to begin to think of new ideas that are not even God ideas, but even God ideas. Not even good ideas, but God ideas.
Yeah, it's
So
good.
now by saying, how can I, you open up the possibilities for your mind to receive and for God to speak to you. Okay.
Yeah, I love
The,
that.
the second thing is everything in your life that you think is a ceiling for you is actually a floor that God wants you to stand on.
Okay.
So for me, I was making excuses. Oh, I can't. We got to take care of my grandmother. We got to take care of my wife's mom. She has cancer. We, are like it's so emotionally taxing, physically and mentally taxing. Oh, we have 10 kids. There was all these excuses. In all
Mm,
actuality, that unique situation is the motivation that God has given me to do what He's called me to do.
yeah. Okay. I
So
got
instead
you.
of seeing my kids as an excuse of why I can't, that's the actual reason why I can. Because I got 10
Yeah.
children that are watching their daddy and they need to see an example.
Yeah.
I got a
Yeah.
grandmother that's relying on me as her
Yeah.
grandson, saying, I believe in you. I
Mm,
got a
that's
mother-in-law
awesome.
that's no longer here, but she was like, you guys can do this. I got a wife that's like, babe, I
Mm,
believe in you. So the very
that's good.
thing that we're using as an excuse, that's the reason why you should be motivated to do it.
Yeah. No, I like it. I need to read your bio again, man. No, it's trick.
That's
No,
it.
I think that's awesome. One of the quotes that you have in your book about ideation, and I want to move quickly through all this stuff because we could talk for a long time, but
Yeah,
you said this: once you have the vision, now it's time to assemble the team that will help to carry it out. If you want to go fast, go alone.
that's
If
right.
you want to go far, go with others. Talk
That's
to me
right.
about that. How have you learned that lesson personally?
Yeah. So basically, when it comes down to it, I learned that there's three different types of relationships. You have constituents, comrades, and confidants. And we have to identify what category each of our friends or associates fall in. I'll quickly go through each. So your
Mm,
constituents are people that you're just around. If you're in school, these are people that you see in school. You say hi, you have small talk in the hallway, but you wouldn't go and spend time with them on the weekend or say, hey, let's go grab a cup of coffee or go out to eat. These are people that you're just around due to the season you're in, right?
mm,
And we have people that come into our lives for a season and for a reason. So it's up to us to identify which. And then number two is your comrades. These are people that come into your life to fight for the same cause or fight against a similar cause. Example,
mm.
in the military, you're fighting against this particular enemy in another country. So we're close, we're tight knit, we're sharing our life with one another. But as soon as that battle or that war ends, the relationship ends subsequently. Now, is there
Yeah.
anything that's been done wrong? No, but it's just the season changed, and we were comrades fighting for the same cause. And once the cause is over, there's no need for that relationship anymore.
Good. That's
Okay.
good.
And then thirdly is your confidant. And a confidant is someone who is with you for you. It doesn't matter what
Mm,
season of life you're in. It doesn't matter how much money you make or don't make. It doesn't matter how successful you are or how you're struggling in a season. They're going to be with you for you because they love you.
yeah.
And we
That's good.
need we need to be able to identify all three of those to be able to
Yeah.
accomplish the vision and in the idea that God has given us.
No, that's good. I hope people pause and rewind that because that was excellent. It's really true. You need those people in your life. As we move on from the ideation, what was the next letter?
Yeah. So you see the vision, you have the ideation, you're getting a God idea here, and then you've got your idea about who you want to assemble as a team. Now it's time to step into strategy.
Yeah.
And strategy, a lot of times we have vision, we have goals, we want to do these things. And as I mentioned before, you guys know that we have a dynamic household. We have a lot of
Yeah.
activity happening here. We have young children from the age of 8 months all the way up to 15 years old. So we got a whole group in there that wakes up early. They're up at like 6 a.m., early birds. Then we got the other crew that wants to sleep in. So there's all kinds of different things. So you got to say, okay, well, how can I strategically be a good parent? How can I strategically engage with my family, with my kids? How can
Mm,
we all strategically move forward in
yeah.
what God's called us to do? So there has to be strategy. A lot of us have goals and we're excited about the vision that God's given us, but without strategy, we'll never get there. So
Okay.
strategy is there's one simple tool that I utilize for strategy, and that is really two elements here. Okay, the first is what are all of the things that are kind of swimming around? If you think about your mind as like a fish bowl, and you think about all the fish swimming around, some people can have only like one or two at a time swimming around in there.
Yeah.
Others can have like, something that you would see when you go to, Disney World, or you go to like a major aquarium and you see all these different colors of fish doing all kinds of different things, and turtles down here and little tiny baby sharks up here. And you got all these colorful fish and Nemo. That is kind of like what my brain is like. All this stuff happening at once, right? And many of us are like that. So how do you prioritize? The first thing is go ahead and create a task list. Okay, write everything down that's in your brain that's just kind of on repeat. And then once you have everything listed out and you kind of brain dump everything you're thinking about, chewing on, then you create what's called a strategic to-do list. And there's an acronym. It's really not even an acronym. It's really more so a template that you can utilize to help you work through that task list, called the Eisenhower matrix. A matrix would be the best way to describe that.
Okay.
So if you think about that, there's 4 quadrants, and you have urgent, not urgent at the top, and then you have important, not important at the bottom. Okay, on the side.
Yeah.
So urgent, not important, urgent, and important, not important. And then what you do is you start taking those items and you plug them into that matrix according to where they fall. Urgent and important, everything in that category is something that's going to have consequences that are deleterious to your health, to your family, to your finances. It needs immediate attention right now, and you can't go any further without taking care of it. Put everything that's urgent and important in that category. It's not ideal to live there, because that means you're in urgency mode all the time, and you're always in this hustle mode. You're a day late, $1 short all the time. Now you switch over to the not urgent and important category, and this is everything that you can schedule. Okay, these are things you can put on your calendar, things that are coming up that week, later on that day, later on in the month. It's ideal to live in this box, because that means you're not in urgency mode all the time. You're not a firefighter putting out fires every 5 minutes, stressed out here on fire, running around on Mach 3 all the day, right? You're over here in this category where you're organized and you're planning and you're doing things in a schedule that allows you breathing room and flexibility and bandwidth. And then you have your urgent and not important category. These are things that other people want you to do. These are emails in your inbox. These are things that people are asking for you to do, right? And now your to-do list is growing, but it's urgent to them, but it's not urgent to you. And then the last but not least is not urgent, not important. And these are things that just need to be delegated to someone else. So if you take your task list and you prioritize it in that Eisenhower matrix, it gives you a great strategy on what to attack first and how to move through the process to achieve the vision and see the ideation come to pass.
No, that's fantastic. The next word, the next letter that you have here is O, operation. And I love this quote. Ideation, which you just did a great job explaining. This is what it is, and strategy, right? Ideation without execution is delusion.
That's right.
True.
That's
it's
right.
So true. Tell me, like, where did that come from? I mean, I guess inside of me, I'm like, it's really true. It's like, I've got all these ideas, but if you don't have an operational process of how to do it, you're absolutely fooling yourself. You're looking in the mirror. You're not seeing it for what it really is. Talk to me a little bit more about that. You actually, you have 5 questions that are really cool. And I'm off real quick. I'd love for you to into it. Why are we doing this? What is our goal? Who is doing what and how? Where are we going? And when should the goal be? They seem, and here's the issue, Mondoe, seem like simple questions, but why is it so difficult many times for us to write it down? Do we feel like it needs to be prettier than it is? I mean, they're simple questions, but when I go to do that and it's difficult, how do I push through to that?
Okay, so this is something that's a little bit below the surface, and you have your hard skills, like showing up on time, being prepared, ready to communicate, you know what you're going to say. But then you have your soft skills, which really are about emotional awareness and being able to connect to other people and understand who you are. And I believe that you have to attack and identify those soft skills and where you are in that process before you can even get to the operation point.
Okay, that's good.
And because we're all really good about, oh yeah, this is a clear vision, let's go, this is gonna be awesome, Elton, we're gonna go conquer the mountain, and then we got an idea, yes, this is gonna be amazing, we got a strategy, and then it's time to go, and we look down and we're like, I don't know if I want to do this. Or to get to that mountain, I gotta swim through that? You mean to get to that mountain, I got to hike down here and it's dark in there in that cave. Oh, I don't know. What are we dealing with? We're dealing with fear. And
Yeah.
a lot of times the fear is attached to three things. So number one is identity. Who are you and whose are you? If we don't
Come
know
on.
who we are and whose we are, we'll never get to where God has called us to be.
Yeah. Come on.
So the
So
number
true.
one thing is, who are you? Do you know who you are?
Yeah.
All of you who are watching, I'm asking you, do you truly know? We can say it sounds good, go to church. Oh, yeah, I know who I am. I am the Lord's. But do you really know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you really know that all of heaven and earth will move for God to move in your life and do what you've been praying about? Do you really know that you are made in his image? Do you really know that all of heaven is watching you, rooting you on for you to achieve and do what God's called you to do with your life? To be the mom
Yeah.
God's called you to be the father, the husband, the leader. Do we know who we are? That's number one, is identity. Number two is authenticity.
Mm.
And if we're not comfortable being truly authentic in who God's created us to be, then we'll compare, we'll find envy, jealousy, barking at our door.
Yeah.
So we have to understand who we are and whose we are. We have to understand our identity. Number two, we have to understand our authenticity. And when we get those two pieces right, identity plus authenticity equals productivity.
That's good.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
No, that's
now,
excellent.
because I know who I am and whose I am, and I'm comfortable in the unique way that God has crafted and designed me with my unique fingerprint that's like no one else is on the face of the earth. Now I can be productive
Yeah.
and I can produce at a high level because I'm not concerned about people pleasing. I'm not concerned about what people think. I'm not concerned about
Mm-hmm.
any of the distractions that the enemy would try to throw at me. And I'm able to run full speed ahead of what God has called me to do with the team that he's called me to do it with.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I'm challenged by the verse that says, run the race to win, right? And I was
That's
reading that
right.
recently this year, and I just heard the Holy Spirit say, run your race.
That's
Sometimes we
it.
think the race is like, I ran a marathon once and there was like 10,000 people. And the fun thing was I was running the same race as elite, Olympic athletes. This was in Portland, Oregon. It was really fun, so it was kind of fun to be on the same field, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but it was tons of people.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think as Christians, when we hear run the race, we see the thousands and thousands of people. And what
Yes.
you're saying, and what I hear you saying is identify. What's your identity? It's your race.
That's right.
What's the authenticity of who you are?
That's
Once
right.
you grab a hold of that and you become this in a godly, good way, come this way,
Mm-hmm.
it's at that point then that you're saying that you get to answer these 5 questions with simplicity.
That's
Why are
it.
we doing this? That's my identity. What is our goal? Well, I'm going to be productive this way. Who is doing what? How? Well, it's because of these things, the foundation. So I really appreciate you going just a little bit deeper there
Yeah.
with that identity. The next thing,
Absolutely.
so I got one more letter, and then I got a question for you as we end
Yeah.
our time together. The next letter was revision, and
That's right.
when we talked about it, you were first telling me about it, I was really excited about it, and we had a great talk about this. And I just want to draw some more out, but you say
Yeah.
this in the book: the word revision, vision, is derived from the word vision again.
That's
And
right.
sometimes I think we can get like, so I'm starting all over. It's a brand new one. And
Mm,
then it says here, Webster's defines it as to make a revision of something that is written or something that has been decided, means to make changes to it in order to, and I love this, improve it, make it
mm-hmm.
more modern, make it more suitable for a particular purpose.
Come
I
on.
think a lot of
Mm.
times we get something and then we hold on to it and we get comfortable. So I'm just submitting
Yes.
that to you. Like we get comfortable. And now
Yep.
you're asking me to revision it. You're asking me to, in essence, go to another faith level. That's what I hear in that. Talk to me more about
Yes.
that.
Come on. So I'm so excited about this, Elton, because we've been running this play now in my house for quite a few months. So that wasn't just written just as an idea at my desk, which is how it originated as a vision. But I
Mm,
came home and implemented this for my family. And this has been one of the most productive seasons that I've had in my entire life as a result of it. And through
okay.
that process, here's what we learned. Two things. Number one is sometimes you can feel like you're going around and around the mountain because you're comfortable. And if you think about this whole illustration of being on this mountaintop at the summit, and then you're starting at the baseline and you're working toward this vision, it can feel like you're going around and around and around. Okay, I did the vision, we got the idea, we got the strategy, we're executing, we got the operation, now we're revising it. How many times we're going to do this thing? And as I was doing that, asking that question to God, he showed me, Mondo, think about where you are in the process now. See, before you were at the baseline down here, but now think about where you are. You're up towards the top of this mountain, and every revolution, every time you go a switchback, guess what? It gets tighter and tighter and tighter until you summit. So what happens when you go from the base of the mountain, Elton? For those of you who are watching, your elevation changes every time. With every evolution, you're at a higher altitude. The weight of what you were carrying before, you can no longer carry. You can't show up the same way you did in the past because guess what? You're at a higher altitude and the air is thinner.
Yeah, that's good.
Your viewpoint has changed. Your perspective has changed. You can see things you couldn't see before. You have wisdom you didn't have before. So through this process, God is refining us on a journey because he's more concerned about who we become as opposed to the destination that we arrive at.
Come on.
So he's interested in us shedding the weight and shedding the things that we don't belong so that we can arrive in our true identity and true authentic self.
Yeah, that's so good.
And that's only one perspective. The second perspective, if you look from a topographical view and you're looking top down at a mountain and you think about looking at it, just imagine that this is top down right here. You're looking at this thing go around and around and around. Well, when you look at those topography lines, they get tighter and tighter the steeper that mountain is. So now you're going around and around and around, and it gets to a point where, boom, it's just like you hit the bullseye.
Okay.
And God is saying to you, I'm interested in this entire process because I'm refining who you are so you can become who I've called you to be.
Yeah. No, that's so good. So that's my last question.
Yes.
This is something, even after people would listen to this, read your book, here's the one thing that we know that, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? We wrestle against spiritual forces. And at the very core, we wrestle against thoughts.
Yes.
What do we do when we embrace doubt? We're excited. We got the emotions. Yes, we're going to do it. What do I do when I come and I'm ready to make it happen? And all of us deal with this, either doubt or insecurity. How do I get through that?
That's a great question. And here's what I would say. Despite the fear, despite the doubt, take one step every day. Because it's all about progress, not perfection. Progress, not perfection. So if you take one step every day, think about this. I'll put it in this context. If you improve 1% every day for 100 days, in 100 days, you will be 100% better.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. It's the little things, right? Be faithful with little. That Bible might be right after all.
I'll tell you what. I will tell you what, Elton. It's proven itself over time.
Man, that is so true.
It's worthy of putting your life in its hands.
Mondo, I know that you are a believer in the Quest event. And obviously you serve as an incredible role on the board to help us as we not only continue what we're doing, but see areas where we can grow. Let's say you meet somebody for the first time and they ask you, why should I go on a quest? What would you say to them?
What I would say is you will not experience the level of freedom that God has for you in a way that allows you to truly experience his presence and your ability to connect with others until you've gone on a quest.
Yeah.
So don't wait for it. Sign up today and the experience will leave you better than you came.
It's so true. Mondo, for me, I'd been in ministry for over 5 years. How long had you been in ministry before?
16 full time.
Oh. And I agree with everything that you said. There's just an expression. It's a tool. There's lots of them out there, but this one, there's something about it that's unmatched. And I say that with all humility. I love working here, but the way that they position us, or I should say it this way, the way that they posture us by serving us, on the event sets the table for an incredible encounter that is life changing. So it's just fantastic. Mondoe, once again, you're a man. I appreciate it. We heard the Holy Spirit. We're wearing the same
Woo!
Oz shirt
Come on,
here.
baby. That's
If you
right.
want to know more, you just got to come.
Come on now.
TheQuestLife.com to go to Quest. I really appreciate it. Mondo, thank you so much for taking the time today to be with us and share your heart. If you want to get the book, you can find it on Amazon. Is that correct? Is there anywhere else that we can find the V.I.S.O.R cycle?
Yeah, so you can go on Amazon, just type my name in, Mondoe Davis, Mondoe Davis, and it'll pull up the books. There's some other ones there as well, and you can feel free to purchase it there.
Oh, that's fantastic. And your website is Inspire with Purpose.
Inspiringwithpurpose.com.
Inspiringwithpurpose.com. There's more ways that you can connect with Mondoe and coaching and speaking. There's a whole bunch of things that are on that website as well as some family stuff that's there. The planner that you created earlier this year or last year, and you launched that this year. You're just doing some great things. Thank you for being an example. Thank you for your enthusiasm. It really is contagious. I really appreciate you, man. God bless you.
Hey, God bless you too, Elton. Thank you so much to you and the organization for having me to be a part of it. So honored, so glad to be here. God bless you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.